Welcome, calls to the order. Join us and stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome. If you are here for the PETA BOA Board hearing, it is downstairs in room, what room they in? In the classroom, 102A. So if you're here for PETA BOA, we're not going to hear your tax problems today, so go downstairs. Okay, first thing on the agenda is the minutes for April the 19th, May the 10th, and May the 17th, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Payroll, June the 27th and July the 11th, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
same sign. Motion carries. And the claims, June 16th, 23rd, 30th, and July the 8th, 2016.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We have on our agenda the appointment, an appointment to the airport board. Any nominations
I'll make the motion.
for,
Dante Perger.
okay,
And I will second.
motion and a second. Any other nominations? All those in favor of Dante Perger signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I might mention that isn't a reappointment. He has served on that board in the past. Okay, we're going to talk about Great Lakes Basin Railroad alternate route discussion. Bob Kaufman. Come on up, Bob. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And we understand that we are on a deadline to supply the Surface Transportation Board alternate routes if we think they so exist, and we do.
Correct. What I have come up with, I spent some time with STB when they were here for their hearings, and one of the things that they expressed to me was, we understand people don't want it, and we're running two studies at the same time, one being the environmental impact study, which is referred to as the EIS. The second thing is a needs study. They were pretty specific on the fact that the needs has to coincide because of the time it takes to do the EIS. However, in speaking with them and Dave Novaki from STB, he said, well, one thing that we're going to look at is there alternates? Is there a better choice than what has been presented by Mr. Patton from GLB? He said if people could come up with some alternate routes, that's stuff that we will look at as long as it's a legitimate route. With that being said, as with anything, they don't want you coming to them saying, it's a problem, we don't want it. What's the solution to the problem? I've sat down with some other individuals, and we looked at this and thought, let's give them a solution or give them an alternate route. Ultimately, we do not want the railroad. There's no question about that, and we'd like to deny it at all costs. However, we're dealing with a federal agency, and if they determine there may be a need for this, then they will go forward. So why not give them a route that we feel is much better suited than what has originally been proposed by Frank Patton? I've come up with what's called the Sam Pierre alternate route. We're using existing rail line, existing rail right-of-ways. By doing this, some of the benefits that I have done, it avoids taking 36.5 miles of prime farmland in Lake and Porter County. It uses all but 3.8 miles of existing or former railroad right-of-way. The point I want to make on that is Porter County has spent millions of dollars over the past 25, 30 years in drainage issues. They've tried to avoid problems. They've made problems better. We've drained subdivisions. We've drained farm fields. Farmers have spent millions of dollars draining their fields. Why not use existing rail line or existing railroad beds that already exist, that are already there, that they've worked around, and they've encompassed them into the projects. They've opened them projects up to allow for better drainage, versus just having somebody come through and go right through the middle of their fields and say, well, now you got to start over. We can't afford that. We will use 8.6 miles of reclaimed farmland from former railroad right-of-way. The net reduction of this proposal is 24 miles of prime farm ground used. We're not using that. We're going to save that in farm ground. The drawback for Patton was that we would add 17.5 miles of route via Belshaw and 11.5 miles via the Kankakee line. And the alignment is near a number of small towns. However, again, the towns were built around the railroads, the towns where this will be going through. They already have railroad. One of the things that we're going to be looking at is using the old Monon line that comes out of down parallels 421, and we'll run south on that line, rebuild part of that line, put a new bridge in over the Kankakee River, and then add 3.8 miles of new track around Sampere to catch the Kankakee line, which is in operation at this point, that runs through Snyder, goes through DeMont, through Wheatfield, and into Illinois. That's an existing route. They use that train every day or every so many days. The one thing is they've got a 100-foot easement. It's wide enough to put 2 tracks on, which is what he's asking for anyway. Let them double track what's already there and run the lines through that town, through that route, and save our farm ground. The one thing I will say that my route takes this train completely out of Porter County.
Gosh, that's too bad.
I'll entertain any questions that you might have. This thing has been emailed, the map accordingly.
Sharon's got it up here.
Okay.
I want her to go through and-
Yeah, if we can go to overview 1. Okay. Right here, you're going to see where we come down around through Wanata. We're going to rebuild and double track, I shouldn't say we, this is what we're proposing, is that they rebuild a double track railroad from the former Monon and Kankakee right-of-way, much of which has never been reclaimed for farming. The circle will be the new bridge that goes over the Kankakee River. The bridge is already there, they would just have to upgrade it or replace it. Additionally, on overview 1, rebuild the existing Kankakee line, which I believe will be the next slide. Rebuild the existing line. This line's in existence now. It comes into the Wheatfield Schaefer plant, the power plant. All we would be doing is tying into that line and utilizing that line as well as putting another line next to it to parallel
That's the
it.
one that services NIPSCO, right?
That's the one that services NIPSCO, which could benefit NIPSCO down the line. They can move stuff in faster if they need be. The next slide will be the Wanata detail. This shows where we're coming around there. The new alignment, which is in the blue, is where we will connect the CF&E line, which will take them, they can head down east if they need to, versus going straight up into Kingsbury. Our next slide will be the South Wanata detail. Shows where the connection will be to Norfolk and Southern, and again, connecting to the CF&E. Again, these are existing rails. These are existing railroad beds. We think it'd behoove everybody to use what's already in existence versus disrupting what we have come to know as our farm ground. The La Crosse connection detail should be our next slide. Same thing. The blue lines are where we're coming in with connecting into the other lines and putting in the passovers. La Crosse overview. Again, we rebuild a double-track railroad on the former Monon right-of-way. The Monon is there. It's in existence. It's not being farmed. The railroads still have the right to reclaim that ground. That is one of the things, even years ago when they created rails to trails, one of the clauses in all these things is that if there is a need, the railroad has the right to reclaim these properties. Our next slide will be the Sampere bypass. This is the one, what we got? This is the one here where we're going to add the new track. Just north of Sampere, they'll cut, after they've crossed the river, they'll cut in a southwesterly direction to connect to the Kankakee line, which is over there by NIPSCO. With the exception of where it says Kankakee line, right, ROW, that's the right-of-way. As it cuts northeast on there, that would be the only new track that's any part of the 287 miles that he proposed. Everything else is already existing. There's already railroad right-of-ways there. The Shelby detail would be the flyover, which would require to go over the top of 55. That way we would not be interfering with Route 55, they'd be able to fly over that. The former Monon route construction used abandoned route right-of-way for a connection with the CN Railroad, LaPorte County near 850 South and Haskell Road to point near 850 South and Route 421 in Jasper County. Again, these are just outline what we're talking about. We've talked about building a highway overpass over the railroad on 49 in Wheatfield, 231 in DeMont. Build a flyover the CSX and Route 55 in Shelby. Replace the existing Kankakee River Bridge with a double-track bridge east of Shelby. So it would cross the river east of Shelby as well as 421. Okay. I've come here asking that you endorse this and that the county support this project for this alternate route. I have submitted this to STB for them to look at as an alternate route. I think we would be much wiser that we have input to, if there is going to be a rail line, that we hope does not happen, but if it does happen, at least we've had input to where we want it to go versus just cutting across our county.
Questions, comments? I don't think it's ever good to reinvent the wheel, and I think that that's what they're trying to do with this project and bringing it through Porter County. I mean, if all these lines exist today, why can't they be utilized? Why do we have to build new? I mean, the drainage issue is the biggest thing that you mentioned. It's been there. The farmers for years have cultivated their ground using that as a natural barrier, and now we're going to create more natural barriers that really don't need to exist.
No. The thing is, with the drainage, and I've addressed it on several issues before, that once they build this, they're creating a dam across the county. The Kankakee River Basin Commission, the Kankakee River itself relies on this water to get to them. There's 151 feet difference in elevation between the city of Valparaiso and the Kankakee River. Everything flows south. If that's dammed off, it stops. It's not going to get there. They discussed the issue, STB did, that, well, we could put in culverts and so forth. We've seen what happens there. One tree limb across the culvert, and it's done. We get a big rain, we've got flooding issues. We're going to lose not only the ground where they put this in, but future farm ground, because it's too wet to farm. You can't, once water's blocked up, it'll find its own way, it'll find low spots, and it'll pond, and we've got other issues, let alone the numbers of field tiles that they will completely destroy while they put this in. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we need to...
Yeah, I just wanted to say, overall, I still am far, far from convinced that this new rail is needed. We've got the CREATE program still in effect. It's already made a big difference, and they have a lot more left to do. Unfortunately, we don't get to decide whether or not there's a need. As you pointed out, the federal government does. And if they decide there's a need, I don't want this train that is going to create all kinds of expense for the county, blocking our roads. The drainage is just a huge issue with all the drainage tiles that people don't have marked, quite frankly. And there's just the expense of finding them all. I think what we'd do is end up finding the problems down the road, and we'd be stuck holding the bag. So I think it's going to protect our farms. It's going to be a lot safer. We're not going to have to worry about school districts being split up and volunteer fire departments having to cross these tracks to get to their equipment, let alone maybe go back across to the fire. So I'm going to make a motion to support this plan with the caveat that my first choice is still no rail.
Understood. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We'll go ahead with discussion if there's anything you want to say about it. The other thing I'd like to say is, and I understand that recently the mayor of Aurora, Illinois, has endorsed the Great Lakes Basin Plan, and I think we all should understand that he's done that so that it moves the railroad out of his town and out of his jurisdiction. But I think that's an example of what you were talking about earlier in reverse. They built the city of Aurora for the railroads and around the railroads, and now, for whatever reason, they've decided other transportation is better, and they want to be done with it. So they don't really care who suffers from their consequence, and the poor rural counties in Illinois and Indiana that are going to have to pay the price because they don't want to be bothered by crossing the tracks anymore. So.
And you can't make new prime farmland.
No, they don't make any more new dirt. What you got's what you got. So. Okay, we have a motion and a second to endorse the plan as presented by Bob, and with the caveat that our first wish is that the thing just go away. And that's not going to happen. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for all your hard work on that, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, can I have
Yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you, Bob. The work that you've put in and the group that has formed here in Porter County, I think this is a perfect example of how the community and government can work together. There's been a lot of work put into this, and I want to thank you for leading that charge. It's been a big task. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Mike Anton Insurance, the Netico report.
Thank you, Commissioner. The other two members of your employee benefits team with me are Lee Westfield and Troy Scott.
Good afternoon.
What we're going to do today, and reasonably quick, is just to report the 6 months report of the performance of the plan. This report that you have in front of you was presented by your vendor, Netico, that is principally charged with the repricing, but also some of the information that varies from compiled with Benefit Administration Services, which is a third-party administrator. So we're going to follow the Netico 4 pillars approach in terms of this report. So we'll talk about wellness, condition management, care services, and then the reference-based pricing. So quickly.
Thank you, Commissioners. Briefly, I will just let you know that the wellness screening that you approved for the additional wellness screening in May, we had 48 people participate, which brought our overall wellness participation up from 33% to 39%.
Getting there. Keep going.
Getting there,
Keep going.
exactly.
Keep going.
In regards to the other pillar of wellness and preventative would be the disease management component that iNetico manages, and we have approximately 62 cases that would be construed under disease management, and of those 62 cases, we have 35 members or 56% participation. So that's another area that we really need to focus on ramping up, getting people to participate in the disease management, which is going to ultimately bring down costs.
Good afternoon. No questions. I'll just jump right to the claims and kind of give you a breakdown where we are with the numbers and the financials. Through the first 6 months of the year, we've had about 7,600 claims that have been reported. Of those claims, we've had about $10.2 million in actual bill charges. Through the repricing or direct contract negotiation, of that 10.2, 3.7 million were allowed charges. So we've saved for the first 6 months about $6.5 million, which is about 64% off bill charges, which is a very good number considering what normal PPO discounts and other percentages off bill charges are in the state and in the nation. How that breaks down. We've had the primary or the physician charges, which is the PHCS network. 17% of your claims have come from the physicians network, about 1.7 billed, and we saved almost $800,000. Your reference-based pricing, which is the your facility charges that are not direct contracts, we've had about 2.8 million billed, and we saved about 1.8 million. Off those bill charges. And then the direct contracts that we all worked very hard to put in place last year, that comprises about 55% of your claims. There have been about 5.6 million in bill charges, and we saved about 3.8 million altogether there. So ending in June, with claims and the fixed costs, the all-in numbers right around $3.8 million, which is trending, very favorably to where we like to see it.
It's remarkable. It truly is remarkable from where we've been in years past.
It is.
we're open to any questions.
What would be helpful for me would be to see what we're comparing to this year versus last year, now that we have last year. Did we ever really find out what the final number was on 15? Because I know we had some claims that were screwed up at the end of the year that came in at the end. So do we know where we ended up on the 9 million budget? Was it 9 million? Was it over? Was it under? Was it? We never did get a...
Pretty much right on target, frankly.
Yeah, I never saw a final settlement out, because there was some, wasn't there a glitch between Stuart C. Miller and BAS and the takeover, and there were some claims that didn't come through?
There were some lags, but I'm not sure that some of those aren't included in the current...
This year's?
Yes.
Okay. So you
Yeah,
never...
there was a lag there, and there was also a delay in the transition in terms of
Right.
adjudicating some of the claims.
Right, right. I was just curious as to where we settled in the final number for last year, and then what would be helpful going forward is if we could do a side-by-side 6-month versus 6 months, where we at. I know it's based off claims, I get that, but just from a cash management standpoint, and it's sort of helpful, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we could do a 6 months, we could show you enrollment, increase, decrease in enrollment, yeah.
Right, that's really all I'm asking.
Okay, we can go through that.
Thank you.
And we're fortunate right now that we're in a good cycle, frankly, and,
Yeah.
you know, if you go back to a couple of years ago, when we were trending the wrong way, well, not trending, in reality, we were the wrong way. One of the measurements is how many participants you have that exceed 50% of the spec deductible. So the spec deductible is $150,000. So anybody that's got a claim 75 and up falls into this statistic. And during that period of the severe temperature, so to speak, we had 32 people that were on that report. Today, we're running 3. So that really is in our favor. And some of it's just that we're in a good cycle, and fortunately people are healthy, but it's also good to attribute that success to, frankly, the care management and disease management issues that are taking place through Inedico. But that's why, as Lee mentioned, it's important to get that other 30 people that are dealing with disease management issues into the program in one fashion or another.
And that's how we're going to come back in the third quarter, early fourth quarter. We're going to spend this time, and we do have the weeds, the detail that you need, and we're going to, like I've discussed before, the first thing you want to do is try to get a handle on the pricing with the direct contracts, get those in place so you know where that is. We've done that. And so now we really got to start focusing on the health and wellness, early intervention and prevention, and be strategic about it. And so that's what we're going to prepare the third quarter to present to you with our thoughts and ideas and kind of getting into the numbers and the weeds that you want to see.
On reference-based pricing, now that it's been established for 3 or 4 years, industry-wide, I guess, maybe longer, are you starting to see some good benchmark numbers out there? And the next question, the follow-up would be is, what was I going to do on our wellness participation? We went from 35 to 39. Are we seeing in these reference-based type programs, is there a level at which that 39% should be 55% or should be 65% or 40%, or because that's a number that I think I'm looking forward to see at what point are we, coming up against what the benchmarks are, just to compare,
Sure.
for our employees.
Hey, I think that number needs to be increased. I think it needs to go up, and I think we'll come with you with some ideas on how we can encourage and entice the membership to do that. It is fairly low on the national norms.
For wellness or disease management or both, it's low?
Both. It's low on both. We really need to work on a campaign to get the employees engaged, to let them know that it's time to take responsibility for your health, and that when you're contacted with these programs, you need to engage these programs. And if you choose not to, that's fine, but there's consequences for that choice. And because they're put in place for a reason, and if the number's not where it's supposed to be, it's reflected in the claims. So.
Is there any way to compare claims between the groups that are participating and the people who aren't?
Good point.
Well, you gotta really get into the demographics of the group.
And you
Make a fair
Yeah.
analysis.
you better be very careful
Yeah.
at that point as well.
Yeah, well, and to his point, you can have a, you want to get the demographics as close as you can, because you could have a younger group,
Right.
and their claims could be out because it's babies and, premature, babies, and those things, wellness and disease management won't impact, and their claims are incredibly high. There's some numbers we can show you that, obviously justify disease management, case management, utilization review, but trying to do a side-by-side comparison is sometimes tough with the demographics.
Well, and I think you hit the thing on the head that we need to do, and that's make it financially inconvenient to not participate. And we've been trying and trying and trying to do that. And I think we need to add more of that type of reasoning to the faction. I mean,
A bigger carrot.
Yeah. If you get $10 back for participating, you're going to say, well, maybe it doesn't make much difference. If you're going to get $50 back, now you're thinking it's going to make a bigger difference.
Correct.
It all comes back to the point that we're trying to make the wellness of the worker priority, and they don't care. So I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you keep beating them over the head to make them understand it's for their own benefit.
Well, in my opinion, that's why you set benchmarks, and you set goals, and you set deadlines. And if we can't reach, a certain national average or thereabouts in that region, and we keep knocking ourselves against the wall, and this is a true wellness program, then I think at some point in time, we have to start putting some teeth into this, and we need to start setting some deadlines here real quick.
Right.
And that's really what I'm looking for, is what are the benchmarks, and then what are the timelines that we're going to use to fit these benchmarks? And then your incentives and all your other things can be part of that, but we the clock's ticking. I mean, I think we've worked to get the number to the 9 million, but I've said before, that number needs to be better, and that's how we're going to get there if we go on this direction. So that's really why I was sort of asking the questions that I'm asking. I want to start lining it up with trends and benchmarking, and with that data, we can set some goals and objectives here from the commissioner's standpoint. So.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Commissioner. I think that over the last, roughly 5 to 6 years that we created this wellness program and created some of the incentives, and the Board of Commissioners have made changes to the plan to incentivize the program, et cetera, et cetera. We've taken these baby steps, and the progression of participation has been, frankly, a real task to get people to participate. And the reality of it is time to, as you say, take some serious approaches and move the needle. Because I think you could go by several counties in the state of Indiana that potentially have 90% participation.
We just need to balance the fairness between our employees and the taxpayers, and that's really what I'm looking forward to do. And I think we're on that trajectory, but we need to start turning the screws down a little bit and turning the fire up a little bit and see what we can come up with. So,
Agree 100%.
Thank you.
What's the wellness screening number from last year? Are we heading in the right direction at least?
We are.
It's just creepy.
Last year it was 202, this year it's 319.
And that percentage-wise, do you know?
I'd say
That's a
8, 9%.
less than 30%.
Total.
Because that includes in terms of the overall potential participants, it includes spouses.
Which would be 811, and it's about the same number from last year, about 800 people eligible.
I think we would be greatly remiss, though, if we didn't mention the biggest savings that this whole thing has brought us. I mean, the total billed charges were over $10 million. If we had went with the other reference-based pricing group, we would have paid 12.5% of that right off the top, because their fee was built onto the billed charges. So I think we've saved, if you just look at that figure, $1.5 million to $2 million just in the service provider that we selected. So I think that absolutely should be part of the equation, and everyone should be aware of that. So. Okay, very good.
Well, thank you
very much. And thank you.
We'll
Yeah.
plan on coming back and visiting.
Thank you.
Okay, Mike Jabo, DLC, we're going to award sewer bid for the animal shelter, we're going to talk about a juvenile center update, and we're going to talk about animal shelter offsite roadway contract.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon, Michael. Stephen, how are you?
I've got Stephen Kronkowski with me. First is the award.
Yeah, you want to do the sewer for the animal shelter? Sewer, water. And water. Yeah.
Sewer and water. Before you have a letter of recommendation. We sent out 6 requests for quotes. We received 3. You opened those up in your May meeting. We decided to defer to wait until the fair was over, get the contractor out there. D&M Excavating, Inc. was the lowest bidder at $29,857. As with the road plans, when we ask for quotes, we ask for a lot of information from the company. Not all the contractors did submit that. So if you wish to waive those, these 3 contractors that submitted, we've worked with them in the past. They're all reputable contractors and can do the project. So with that, we recommend, if you decide to waive the irregularities in not submitting everything, we recommend D&M Excavating, Inc., total of $29,857 and no cents for the off-site sewer and water.
On your spreadsheet, you're showing D&M not low bid? You have the names mixed around?
I do. I apologize.
Yeah, just that this is a public meeting, I just wanted to make sure that we made reference of that.
That is correct,
The
Commissioner.
worksheet is incorrect.
I got, this is a new one, I've never seen it. There's a letter of certification regarding investments in Iran.
Well,
The
actually,
country.
that's not a thing anymore, is it?
It is. It's still, I think,
And
to the end of this year, I believe.
that means you received the letter when it says yes, or you did not receive the letter when it means no, or that they have investments in Iran, or they don't have investments in Iran?
That means they included the document in their
Okay,
package.
that's where I was at.
And I believe, talking to D&M, I did talk to them last week to make sure they were still in, because it had been a while. It seems that they may also be the contractor working on site with the Larson Danielson.
They don't subscribe to the E-Verify program?
Or they just didn't include it?
They just didn't include it.
But you're recommending that group if we waive
They all aired the same, pretty much.
the, well, I see one that doesn't have it.
Yeah.
And we can request all those documents to be included in their contract when that comes around.
Well, I'd make the motion to approve D&M, the low bidder, as long as they, give us all the required documents before they begin.
And to be clear, their bid is $29,857?
Yes, and I apologize for the error on the spreadsheet.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And juvenile center update?
Yes, Commissioners, there's a couple of things. One, it's some housekeeping matters that, there's a couple of pay applications that were not submitted until recently. Some of this was held up because of some administrative change orders that were approved previously, but the documents weren't forwarded over, and so the pay app's couldn't be processed until those change orders were processed. We have since realized and received a hard copy of those change orders. So,
And to be
so the
clear,
project is, I'm sorry.
change orders were approved.
The change orders were approved in a public meeting at
In
the
real time
Commissioners,
as the project
in real
was
time in
going.
October.
Right.
And so it just was an administrative item. There was also some of the other documents that need to be signed, a substantial completion document. There was also an allowance adjustment.
that was also required. And so all of that information has been completed, and so it's, the warranties are in effect. They begin, substantial completion document establishes when the warranties begin for the labor and material. So this work has been completed for some time. It was just an audit, internal audit, that it was discovered some of these documents weren't processed yet, so.
So by not paying them in a timely fashion, does that increase our warranty?
We've actually have talked to them. We asked them to start their warranty at the January 1 of 2016. The work has been done in 2015, but they will go ahead and honor that. And then the products also have their warranty, which is beyond the standard 1 year.
And a portion of that I'm sure is not your responsibility, but we also had conversation with the Juvenile Center Board in regard to their bond, and they have agreed to participate in these final bills as well, too. So we'll arrive at a dollar amount they're going to pay and we're going to pay, and I think that what we need to do is approve these to be paid. Is that right, Scott?
Yeah, I just want to, so what's the total owing right now?
Yes, that's what.
The total O amount?
Yeah, I mean, if we were to pay it off.
Yeah, pay that off, it's, there's one, 227.326.24, that's pay app number 3, and pay app number 4 is for the retainage, which is $69,367.05.
$227,326.24 and $69,367.05.
That's correct.
And
We have inspected the project. We are comfortable with the completion of the project. We also, there were some questions back in the spring regarding some downspouts and some surface drainage that wasn't in their contract. That was another piece that indirectly kind of held up this because we weren't sure if it was part of their original scope or new scope. And we've worked that out. That was never in their contract. And I believe Porter County Forces did that. I think Matt took care of that portion of it. So.
Very good. Okay, so...
Stephen, sorry, John.
That's right.
When we talk, the contractor is willing to work out a payment schedule too?
I will talk with them on that. I'm sure they'll be willing.
Because of the air and the...
They've waited this long to receive their payment. I'm sure that they will.
Yeah, you caught us in an odd cycle, so that's, if anything that can be done there...
I'm sure they'll be willing to work with you on that.
Okay.
Should they be in contact with Scott, or who?
Scott would be fine. But originally, wasn't this to be paid out of CCD, or, I thought it was. And
There was originally, it goes back, Melissa opened a PO, and I know Michelle was tracking it.
We
We
may,
may still have POs open.
well, if the POs are open, then we probably won't need a payment plan, but if they're not open, then we probably
POs
do.
were reserved, yes.
Yeah,
They were
I thought they were
reserved
encumbered.
for
Thinking it was
encumbered.
So let's look
Yeah.
and see, I can look into it after the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
That would be
pretty
nice.
sure it was.
If it's encumbered, then we won't have a problem. If it's not, then we're gonna have to,
I know there was always discussions where, with this change order, when we were doing the change orders at that time, and there was always the discussion of the funds. I just, to be honest, it was an internal, and I didn't know which funds. There was a lot of different funds going on.
I think it's there, but I think we also need to clarify with the JDC bond that's left. They were going to retire that bond in favor of this project, so I think we need to find out exactly how much they need to, are willing to contribute, and we'll take the balance. I'm pretty sure we can.
And I apologize, this wasn't done before. I'll acknowledge that. We should have had this wrapped up, and it, just through internal audit, it got caught, and it was a little surprising to myself, so I apologize on your behalf.
Okay, what kind of motion do we need then, Scott? Or
well, I don't think we really need a motion, everything's been approved, we just wanted it on the agenda so everybody knew what it was, and we can kind of get caught up, and we had some way of everybody knowing what was going on.
And there's no action, but there is a couple of documents for signature, so when those
Okay.
get processed, just forward a copy, and I'll send those out to the contractor as well.
Okay, animal shelter offsite roadway.
Yes, this was also in the off-site package, same as sanitary sewer and water. You awarded at your last meeting to Olson Construction. And before you today, you should have two original proposals from Olson in the amount of $45,665.00. If you desire to move ahead with that and sign it, we'll issue a notice to proceed to the contractor and we'll begin work.
Mike, have you gotten the right-of-way permit yet, or is anything worked out of that, or?
They're waiting until the right-of-way manager comes back, and he's due back
Well,
tomorrow.
we're running out of time.
I know. It was approved at the local permit inspector. He's waiting for his boss to sign it off. This isn't the only permit I've been shagging, but unfortunately, I can't get anything out until this gentleman comes back.
Is that an NDOT approval?
Yes. It's been approved at the inspector level. We just need his manager to sign off on it. I've been shagging this every
And was
other
he
day.
to be back this week, I thought?
Yes, tomorrow.
If you could supply me the phone number, I'd be more than happy to make a phone call.
Okay.
The fair's right around the corner here, and we need to get that road in. Is Olson ready to go? Are they?
I believe so.
Getting a little too close for my comfort, so.
Understood.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve the contract with Olson in the amount of $45,665, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
There's motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
That's all you got
Thank you,
for us?
Commissioner.
Okay. Laura, you had something in regard to the,
Yeah, I forgot to bring this up for us to vote on, regarding the train, our submission to the Surface Transportation Board regarding the environmental impact study.
all right.
You've had this in your emails, and I actually have one more edit to do, but I wanted to get your approval to submit it by Friday with just some minor edits.
Fine by me. I'll make a motion to send it.
Second.
Motion is with the minor edit that you need to do. Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
While we're talking about the fair and getting in and out of the place, Division and Smoke Road intersection is still closed, and the detour, glad you guys are here, sends people down, is it 150, onto that crazy curvy mess that turns into Sega Road. Is there something different we can do for the fair, just a fair route, so we don't have so many people going that way?
Suppose they could head north through the City View Way up to the north end of Smoke and then up to
Did you guys look at that, and then maybe we could put some signs up before the fair starts? Just a fair route or something, temporary.
You might want to also, guys, on our website page and other things, start communicating on social media as well, too, about traffic or Kurt, someone, the fair. And as many entities as we can get to let everybody know that there's a change in the direction.
How long is the road going to be closed there?
through October 2nd, I believe.
It's a while.
That's just gonna be dangerous. Teenagers heading to the fair and being late for concerts. A lot of blind curves on that road.
It's already dangerous at that intersection, so hopefully something good will come out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to report, though, based off a meeting that we had with Pratt and about 40 stakeholders several months ago. IDOT did come through, and we did get the turn signal out there, so that's good. So that's, and they did promise that before the fair, so they did come through, so that's good. We do have a turn lane now, so.
Great.
Good. Okay, Sharon Lippens, going to open an RFP for our financial payroll software. How are you?
What's the over-under?
Good.
I'm thinking.
So,
Over
I don't have this one up here.
Under,
So this is for the auditor, right? But everybody uses that.
Auditor, treasurer, and pretty much every county in the, or excuse me, every office in the county, as they enter their own payroll, they enter their own requisitions and things like that. It pretty much touches every department in the county.
How many proposals got sent out?
We posted it on the website and advertised it in the paper, so we don't know how many people downloaded it.
Okay, how many did you get back?
They go to the auditor's office, so I'll let them answer.
We got three?
Three.
Is this one right here?
This is from Lau and Associates.
Is this part of this one?
That's from Lau and Associates as well.
No, that one that you have there, John, the FedEx is from another company.
Okay, so these are the three that bid. Lau and Associates Incorporated, Right Stuff Software, and RDS Regional Data Services Incorporated. And this one is from Right Stuff Software.
The right stuff.
The Right Stuff, so.
No, I don't think they would do that intentionally.
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do, Sharon, we'll just open them and announce them, and we'll pass them down this row here. We'll give them all to you and let you make sure they dotted all the i's and crossed all the t's. And then, do you want to come back at the end of this meeting, or do you want to come back next meeting?
Well, if you could look just enough to give us some numbers.
I can. I was going to say, it might be a little
Okay, well, we might
complex
be
with the
able
numbers.
to find that ourselves.
But I can, probably not, because there's multiple modules.
Multiple modules.
But I can probably get a summary quote for you, just to give you an idea of
Okay.
the figures before the end of the meeting. And then we're going to be
Yeah.
requesting demos
Right.
from vendors and things like that. So either the next meeting or the meeting after that, depending on the scheduling.
Okay, very good. If you could, that'd be great. And this one is from Lau Associates in South Bend. And then the third and final one is from RDS Regional Data Services Incorporated, and they are in Crown Point, Indiana.
They are our current vendor.
Pardon?
They are our current vendor.
They are our current vendor?
Yes.
Okay, then.
And just to let you know, for the committee that reviewed all the specs, what included myself, the auditor, treasurer, and the HR, we also decided as a committee to include Edie Hahn in the sheriff's department, because the sheriff's department has unique needs when it comes to payroll, with merit and shift differentials and all of those things that you know, I don't see in dealing with people in the administration center and the courts, et cetera. So we brought her in as well to make sure that it would be a fit for their office.
Good, that's good. And if you could get us kind of a ballpark figure before the end of the meeting, and then, is it your plan to utilize those people that were on the committee to review these, and they can all have input as to how it's going to affect their office?
Yes, I plan to distribute copies to the committee members, and then we plan to meet on either Thursday or Friday to discuss it, and then try and schedule vendors in as soon as possible
Very
to
good.
really hit them with what their product does and get all our questions answered.
There they are for you, and if you, we'll try to get you just before the end of the meeting again. Thank you, Sharon. Lori Daly, Expo Director, and Matt Welsen, Fair Board President, Porter County Fair 2016 Emergency Action Plan. Thank you.
Hello. Matt. Hello. There is just around the corner, like you said.
I watch that daily.
Yes.
Lori Daly.
Yeah.
I figured that's what you meant.
Okay, I believe this is the third year, Mike Weber with the Porter County Emergency Management helped us put together an action plan, and this puts names and numbers together, phone numbers together, and just highlights what to do if there's severe weather, an event at the grounds. They do have their command center bus on their grounds during the fair for the 10 days. So,
we just need your signature.
yes,
on
we
it.
need your signature for that. Fire marshal would like that.
That would be nice.
Yes.
Has the Fair Board approved this in their meeting?
Yes, we've had this for 3 years, so
Okay.
the only thing that has changed are people going off the board and me becoming president, updating things like that, so.
Is there also a police action plan?
Yes.
That you have available?
Grandstand evacuation, I mean, it covers any type of incident for it.
Questions?
I'll make the
Concerns?
motion to approve.
Second. And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving right along. Okay, office holders, department heads. Matt Stessy, facilities director, going to award a quote for facility vehicles, and we're going to talk about contract for third floor renovation. Afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. So this is just a follow from last month's commissioner meeting. We opened sealed bids for both the vehicles and the third floor, and this is simply awarding it.
All righty.
I'll make the motion to approve.
And we're approving the vehicles to South Lake Auto Mall in the amount of...
$21,728.
Very good. Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And then the bid for the third floor contract is being offered to Gary Up Construction, and my computer says I can't view it. I don't know why. In the dollar amount there?
It is...
177.
$177,000. That was low bid, based off the bid openings at the last meeting.
Contingent on clarification of scope and several meetings, it went really well, absolutely.
Good. Okay, for Gary Up Construction in the amount of $177,000. All those, need a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion
I'll second.
and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
When are they thinking they can get started?
Next Monday, next Wednesday, we're moving.
Okay. Scott McDonald, the Opera House Director, we're going to talk about an orchestra agreement and a venue rental agreement. Scott.
Yes.
So the first is the Frank Allen Orchestra agreement.
Yes. Frank is just one of our musicians for Greece. We turned all of those contracts in last month, but Frank was a little bit behind the ball, so we just wanted to make sure we got that in before the production opened.
Shame on Frank.
I told him the same thing.
And this is in the amount of...
$360.
$360. Questions?
So moved.
Motion?
Sorry.
That's right. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Opposed,
Greece
same
opens
side.
Friday.
Opens Friday night, and we have
Okay.
over 2,400 tickets sold for the run of the show so far. So,
And a,
yeah, really, really excited.
rental agreement with Chandler Maglish?
Yes, he's a local magician who wants to rent our venue for his show.
He's not going to make it disappear, is he?
No.
No, we need the revenue.
Exactly, but he's giving us revenue, so.
I'll make the motion.
Motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Scott.
Have a great day.
We're back to Sharon.
She gone?
Yeah, she's
Oh,
back
there
there.
she is.
Yeah.
We can come back to that. Yeah.
Okay, let's do reports from commissioners. I think there are two, and there's one from south and one from center.
Are there two from south?
Two from south, yes.
A lot going on down there.
I'm sure
Yeah.
it's looking at the right thing.
Somebody woke them up. Oh, train coming through.
Don't get me LPA Claim Form 3 for County Road 100 South, 2,000 west of County Road 725 west to 1,000 feet east of County Road 500 west for intersection and site distance improvement in the amount of $11,014. Recommend approval.
Second. Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries.
LPA Claim Form 6 for Porter County Replacement Bridge 62, County Road 1,000 South over Kankakee River in the amount of $9,269.76. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Center District.
Arbor Lakes Unit C Maintenance Bond from Demont State Bank in the amount of $18,144. Recommend approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, let's do correspondence here. We have on file the Treasurer's Monthly Report for May of 2016. We have a request for approval by the Valparaiso Community Festivals and Events Committee to use the courthouse grounds beginning Wednesday, September the 7th through Saturday, September the 10th for the 38th Annual Popcorn Festival. We would also like to know if the parking garage will be open that day, the days of the festival, and what the fee will be. So why don't we take these individually? Request for approval of the courthouse grounds. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The parking garage is another subject. In the past, we've had somebody man that garage, and the fee was what? $10 per car. Are we in a position to be able to do that again this year?
Matt's planning, I did talk to Matt about that, and he is planning to take that over.
Okay, so we should notify him that the garage will be available for the day of the festival, and the fee will be $10. Is that still okay?
Yep.
And the fee will be $10. Can I get that in the form of a motion, or?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second, for
Motion
$10.
second. And all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for approval by Bob Gregg of the Wildlife Advisory Board to have a presentation regarding bats at the Sunset Hill Farm Celebration of Wildlife on Sunday, October the 2nd, 2016, between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. Why are we
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
doing this?
Isn't that a park board deal?
No, it's our purview, but, I mean, we give him the authority to have the festival. I would think whatever presentations he does, I mean, this is the first one we ever had to prove, and they've been doing this festival for about 4 or 5 years.
It is bats. It's bats. I mean,
Okay, wait, well, let's, I suppose we should vote on it then, and there must be
Well, we could
something, or
wait.
they...
It's October 2nd.
Yeah.
We have questions.
Yeah, why don't we put it off, and we'll give him a call and ask him why he wants it. Why is this one on here and none of the rest of the other agenda?
Batman.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Request for approval by Hart for the Next Generation to use north side of the courthouse grounds facing Lincoln Way to present a campaign, Justice for the Unborn, on Tuesday, July the 19th, and Wednesday, July the 20th, 2016, from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. The organization will remove the display at the end of each day and clean up any literature or garbage. We got in big trouble with this last year, big trouble, and we got so many complaints. I think we need to talk about this.
Sure. Well, I think the complaints are gonna come, I'll give you a little bit of, our view on the event, and I'm here representing him. Pastor Scott wasn't able to make it, he did send his apology. So this kind of, it's important to distinguish it from an event, 'cause it's not an event, it's a display, so, with two wildly different things. And Hartford, the Next Generation, they have a website, you can go and check out their ministry, but it's a Jesus-focused ministry, so it's distinct and separate from a pro-life group. When you hear that connotation, you think, protesters and stuff like that. So, and the people manning this display are predominantly high school and college kids that come in and join this impact team. It's about 15 to 20 of them, learning to do street ministry, sidewalk counseling, that kind of thing. So, the display, it's provocative. People don't like it. But it does provoke higher thought. It does lead to changes of opinion. It leads to intellectual dispute or debate. And more than anything, it's one of those things that the First Amendment protects.
I understand that, but it also protects those people that have their 8-year-old son with them, and they're driving by, and now they have to witness this, and it's not something that they want to have to explain to their 8-year-old son at that point in his life.
Sure.
And they have some rights too, I think.
They have rights, but but none of those rights trump the First Amendment right. One can look away, one can close their eyes, one can decide to walk on one of the other three sides of the courthouse, one can
What are our
decide.
rights, Scott?
We can, he obviously has he's correct, the First Amendment protects this. It is a presentation. They have the right to do it, and we have the right to narrowly tailor time, manner, and place of where it's happening. And when I say narrow, I mean very narrow, without indication as to preference of the material, et cetera. So, again, that's kind of where where our constraints are.
If I could add one more thing, too. It's important to note that last year there was no incidents of violence, any problem with the people
We got
cleaned up
complaints
afterwards.
all day.
I mean,
All day.
yeah, and I'm sure you did, I'm sure you will. People don't like the sound. I mean, it is provocative, but the reality is, it is wrong. That's the group's stance. 3,000 babies get slaughtered every day. That's the group's position. And if one baby can be saved, it's worth them, in their opinion, trying to preach Jesus to somebody to save a baby.
Well, I don't think we're at all, I don't want to be confusing here, I don't think we're at all tilting on any kind of rejection of your request.
Sure, no, I understand.
Okay. It's just a matter of where to put it on the courthouse grounds, how long to allow it to happen, and et cetera. So it's not a matter of
Sure.
if you're doing it, it's a matter of, like I said, narrowing, if the commissioner so wants, narrowing very carefully the time, manner, and place.
I'll make one other issue, because I think I see where you're going with this. Pretend I'm not representing a pro-life display, pretend I'm Domino's wanting to do something on the square for 8 hours, there's no complaint, no objection, where I want to go and what I want to do. Even more so, the First Amendment prescribes a right to not have what it's doing tailored, I know narrowly tailored, but that doesn't mean you can have the event for 2 hours just because it's an unsightful display.
Well, I think the other thing that you need to consider, that we need to consider, is that the courthouse is used on a daily basis. I mean, probably 80% of the people that are going in and out of that facility are about to experience a life-changing event. They're going to be sent to jail for some time, their loved one's going to be sent to jail. They've already got a lot of ideas about what's going to happen in the rest of their day, and now they're confronted with a display that, look at what happened yesterday in St. Joe. A guy's going to get sentenced to jail, and he manages to get a gun and kills people. I mean, how's anyone to know what's going to set any individual off? And when you have something that could be antagonistic towards some people, it could be a catalyst. I'm not saying we're going to deny your First Amendment rights, but I am saying that we need to be able to protect everyone else, too.
I agree, and actually, it's the best position for this is on the north side of the courthouse, because the entrance is on the south side, and people approach it from the east and west. No matter where you put it.
You got restaurants.
No matter where you put it.
Want to eat lunch.
Well, there's traffic issues, and that's why we have the map up, so we can look at the courthouse square as it sits, and try to figure out, because where were you last year?
On the north side facing Lincoln Way.
And that was the biggest complaints I got, were from the restaurants that were immediately across the street saying, we got zero revenue today because people don't want to sit outside and eat while they're looking at. And that's something else I think that maybe, I don't know if it's in our purview, but we should consider limiting it, the size of those signs. They got 12-foot signs out there with pictures of fetuses being aborted or that have been aborted.
And African Americans being hung, Holocaust people being dumped in ditches. The reality is there are the hordes of human relations among people are tragic. It highlights those, and there's no way to escape it. That's reality, that's history, and that's what we do on a daily basis to those babies at those places. And there's just no way to escape that part of it. There's no way to say we can't really do it. The First Amendment is so broad and so great, it allows people like the Westboro Baptist people to disparagingly and wrongfully show up at soldiers' funerals, and it's a despicable message.
I've been to those as well, yeah.
But it's protected.
Do your plans have something in it for a microphone system or a PA system?
Yeah, so there's amplified sound. So we're working with the city to get that approved. And they had a contingent approval we've gotten, which really is no approval. They basically said we can use the sound so long as it doesn't exceed the uniform ordinance, 65 decibels, I think. As long as it doesn't exceed that, they didn't and shouldn't deny. I don't think sound is avoidable, and they did not give us the exception we wanted, which they gave us last year.
But from our perspective, we have court proceedings going on inside that building.
Sure.
And I think that would be extremely disruptive to our judges and to our jury system.
It was last
They
year.
were some of the biggest complainers last year as well.
Sure. Well, I can tell you that last year also, it was not governed by the 65 decibels. This year it will be. So it will be at 65 decibels. If you don't know what that is, it's not very loud.
Well, and is using the Valpo sound system going to carry the sound of your microphone through the entire downtown?
No, we have a standalone thing. The group uses a standalone thing, and it's isolated to the thing, and it's facing away from the building, not to the building. And the purpose of the sound is to literally get the attention of the people around it. I made it clear, I was talking to Ethan Alone, it's not to like throw a shot out down in Central Park or get 100 yards. The purpose is not to be noisy, and that's why it's different from an event and a display. One way is this way. We're not trying to send a message as loud as we can all over Valpo. The group is trying to attract the people right there on Lincoln Way, around this world. Hey, what's that noise? We want people to come and confront the display. We want people to deal with it. I say we, I mean the group. But that's the whole point there. So it's not to be disruptive or disorderly. Most of it is street preaching, just preaching the Word of God. They play some acoustic guitar. But that's its purpose.
What's the height of the display?
It varies based on, it can be set up any number of ways.
What's the tallest, what's the shortest?
I think, to ballpark, I could say probably last year, I think they were double stacked the whole time, the whole way down. And so I think it was maybe 10 feet. So if they've never tipped over, you've seen in the letter, we do this all over, their sandbag. Someone's welcome to come on stations. It's a stable structure. We've got this group, this guy who owns the display. They've done it all over the United States. There's never been one incident structurally or otherwise.
Well, I think the issue with the height isn't, at least my question wasn't centering around the issue of the structural stability of the display itself, was just, again, trying to get a grasp of what is, so we're clear here what you're doing, so we can notify that building what's happening.
Sure.
And then also decide where it's going based upon what kind of size it is, because we have issues of, there's other issues. It's not about structural stability, it's about sight lines, it's about traffic,
Sure.
et cetera. So
We don't have much time to figure all this out.
And last year when it faced north, and faced Lincoln Way, it ran on the grass. It really ran from grass in between the sidewalks alongside.
Are we within our rights to suggest a different day? Later
The
when we
day-
have more time to...
Yeah, the day is rough. I think that would have to be something that they would have to agree with us to do.
Maybe during school hours, so kids aren't
Summer.
hitting the park
It is
right down the street.
Summer.
There's no way around, I'll be honest with you, there's no way around the fact that people don't want to see it. And I can tell you, think of all the other protests and things that happen, and if it wasn't a pro-life, we wouldn't be having this discussion. I honestly believe if it was a gay rights thing, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Well, I disagree with you on that. That can be your opinion.
Sure.
I can tell you, though, that I don't care what comes up here.
Sure.
If it's 12 feet tall or 10 feet tall, and if it has an amplifier, and it's on this courthouse grounds, there's other places in this county to be besides this courthouse grounds. If it's any of those things, then they're going to be answering the same questions. I don't care if it's gay rights,
Sure,
or if it's a military, issue, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm happy with the questions, because I think we do need, it's part of your job as decision makers to make the best decisions for the county.
Well, I'm looking at this from the security and the safety of our citizens of Porter County, and the people that work inside that building and have a job to do. We're moving prisoners in and out of this building.
there's a lot of things that are going on in this building, and to inject something like this it makes it even more difficult to operate that building on a day-to-day basis. And I think that's, at the end of the day, we're concerned about the security. So, I think...
And the north side of that building where you were is where the jail van pulls up and where the prisoners are unloaded.
Sure, yeah, and we don't disrupt that, and we don't interfere with that. You'll recall a while ago, years ago, they had the Wall Street protest out there. The liberal Wall Street people all had Lincoln Way occupied, and there was no problem. And I only point these out to provide context for what we're asking, because it's important, because people don't want this display up. You may or may not, but a lot of people don't. And so the public courthouse has always been historically the place to have. Historically.
Well, I think you can talk historically all day long. At the end of the day, these are different times. And I think that there's a lot of things that are going out there in the public right now. And again, from the county's perspective, we're trying to, this is safety. This is public safety. And, I mean, I think that anybody that's out there that watches the news and sees what's going on in this country the last 30 days, I think Commissioner Evans discussed that earlier, and I think that's really the perspective that we're coming from, is that we're gonna tighten this up, and we have to take a look at some things to where it been, you know.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah,
I want to be clear though. The display is happening. Okay, and it's probably happening.
Yeah, we're looking at it in detail.
Yeah,
I understand.
We're narrowing down the details of where on this courthouse square, and really, in my mind, how tall. I mean, your display is happening.
And the decibel noise.
Right. What's
Is there
that?
any kind of sign ordinance of that?
No.
Fit into?
So, and specifically to discuss your thing about security, I agree with you. There are crazy people everywhere who can be set off at any moment in time. I can tell you that it's important to know. That's why it's important to know, at least with our group, the chance of it happening is slim, because we're not out there protesting, we're not getting in people's faces. This is like an invitation to come and have a discussion about it. And these are high school and college-age kids, which are, again, Jesus-focused, and that's important because of...
Well, I understand that.
Because
You got to understand that may not be the only provocation.
But people may not like it.
Yeah, exactly. What if you say you have a female that's now in her late 20s who had a abortion when she was 18,
Sure.
and you kick up all these other emotions back for her,
Sure.
and that's a trigger for her to go back to her car and get an AR-15 and start shooting them. I mean, that's what we're talking about, is protecting the safety of the individuals that walk up and down the streets, that may or may not have a care in the world, and we would never deny anyone their First Amendment rights.
Sure, no.
So I think that probably a better spot for this kind of activity would be the southwest corner of the courthouse grounds, as opposed to the northeast corner where you were last year.
With a restricted sign height, you think, or?
Well, do you think you're going to go, you tell me, are you going to go 10 feet?
No, I'm going to go more than a double stack, and so I don't have the dimensions of the sign. I mean, I can tell you, it will be at or around 10 feet or less, because the goal is not height, the goal is, the double stack works out well when you're going length.
Well, do you know what the length is? If we said don't...
Well, last year, I mean...
If we said don't double stack, what would that turn the length into?
Well, I mean, last year it was double stacked, and I ran the whole north side of Lincoln Way in between those sidewalks. It ran almost
like a billboard.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, it's a series of small signs. It's a billboard. It's whatever you want to characterize it as. But the display is designed, I mean, typically, it can be manipulated by its size and configuration. I don't like the idea of sticking us on the southwest side of the courthouse, only because if it wasn't this type of event, we'd be right there on the north side of Lincoln Way, north side of the courthouse.
Well, I think the addition of the panels of the structures being built is part of this.
Sure, and I'd like to point to last year, there were no traffic incidents there. There were no security incidents out there. We can speculate a lot. Last year...
Well, that's what we do up here.
Yeah.
Well, I understand you speculate to a point, but the reality is we have a track record now.
Well, we did have to call the sheriff down.
Yes.
I don't know for what, I was there on one day, we were there on...
This is the first day.
not sure what, is that?
Over-aggressive.
Yes.
I can tell you, that was a particular group out from California that came in. Last year, this is another thing we've done different. Last year, the event coincided with Hartford Next Generation has like a national conference. That's the following week. So this year, it's a week earlier, so that only the impact team will be out there to avoid that kind of problem. And by over-aggressive, that's people handing people paper that says, don't kill your baby.
Yeah, and insisting they take it, that was the other thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure, there's two sides there, so I wasn't there, I can't debate what they did.
Yeah,
You
like
know,
you
I do
said-
know that group left the conference too, so I'm not sure what it was.
Like you say, you got a track record, and part of the track record was not very favorable.
No, we were responsible for getting that group out there, and we can't control who shows up and things any more than we can't show up if 2,000 people that are pro-life show up and throw rocks at us. I mean, we can't control that. That's why speculation is important, but it has to be limited, because we can speculate ourselves to,
No, but it was those people that were leading the demonstration
That
on
was
your
not.
behalf. that
It was
were-
absolutely not.
That were, yeah.
It was absolutely not.
That's why we had to call the sheriff.
It was not our people. I'm being 100% honest. I am very good friends with Pastor Scott. I was there on the second day, not the first day, and it was the group from California.
But they were there on your behalf.
No, they were there because they were attending a conference. They were not supposed to be there. There was assigned schedules of who was supposed to come, and Pastor Scott's team was the only one that was supposed to be out there. Those guys came on their own behalf. And we asked them to leave, and thankfully they did, because there's a way to do this. The best way to do this is to let people approach it if they want to, let them know Jesus is the answer. This is the group's approach. If you want healing for your abortion, come get it. If you want an MF on your walk bike, you can do it. And plenty of people exercise their rights, but the reality is, it's provocative because of what it is, but Pastor Scott's team is focused on being non-confrontational and inviting with the idea that Jesus is the answer. Is it disruptive and all those things we talked about? Of course, but it's very different. So that group didn't even comport with what this group does. That's why there was the problem.
Well, it still goes to the track record you were talking about.
Yeah, you can allocate it, that's okay.
Okay. All right, well, what's your pleasure?
What about the hours? Do we need to have it from 9 to 5?
Well, I think the courthouse closes at 4, don't they?
4:30, I believe.
4:30.
Everyone's walking
When they
out.
let out.
Yep. 8:30 to 4:30 is what they're normally running at.
I don't, what would you propose if you don't want to go to 5?
What would keep us in,
Well, it just has to be, obviously, like you said earlier, and again, to be clear, we're not saying 2 hours at some point.
Yeah, the same as
We're
if
just
you
trying,
were
we're just,
some others.
we're trying to, and again, some of it is builds into the other issues of where's it going?
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, and whether, and what's the height, et cetera, and et cetera. And it's also dealing with, part of the problem here is I keep thinking in my mind what else is going on in that courthouse, and we just don't know, so.
This is north.
Disney
This
Square.
is southeast.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only input is that we should be treated like any other group with any other display.
There's no doubt about it.
And having said that, we should be approved to be on the north side of the courthouse facing Lincoln.
I know that's what you want.
I understand, but I'm hard pressed, I'll leave it to you guys to decide, I'm hard pressed to see why it won't be there.
Well, the biggest problem with Lincoln Way is that all of the 4 roads, obviously, the reason why you want to be there is traffic, and the reason I'm concerned is traffic.
Yeah, we're more interested in the foot traffic.
Well, then the foot traffic shouldn't change drastically around that courthouse.
I believe it does.
The parking is all the way around. Matter of fact, you're going to get more foot traffic on the southeast or southwest side than you are on the north side. There's no parking on the north side. You either park down at the Moose Lodge and walk, or whatever that is, and walk down for the employees, or you park around the square and you walk in from the south.
Lincoln Way is
And on Lincoln Way.
very much busier than the other parts.
Well, from my was traffic, and the traffic is then distracted by the displays and creates a safety problem.
Well, from my perspective, we're allowing you at this location to be there.
And the First Amendment allows me with all due respect.
Yeah, and we're saying that that's not a problem.
Right.
Now, where we're telling you, we want it to be, I think that, we're still fulfilling that obligation, I believe, so.
I understand this is a tough decision. I understand what this display is, and I'm here to represent the company. I understand what we're asking. I understand your dilemma. But the First Amendment, this is what has made this country great. This is what has allowed these kinds of displays to happen.
And that's why it's
regardless of which side.
right?
What?
And that's why it's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. But that's why, that's what's helped shape our country, having these exact courses of discourses, intellectual debate, provocative
And in all
thought.
honesty, I don't think anyone disagrees with that.
Yeah.
Whether you're for it, or against it, like it, don't like it.
Working something
it's
totally
part-
unrelated.
It's part of being in America.
Mm-hmm.
And in no way do we want to stop that from occurring. It's about trying to match trying to do the fine tuning between your group and every other person's
Sure.
First Amendment right.
Sure.
And the public safety issues and the things that we have to also deal with at that courthouse.
Absolutely. Another reason I can say, like I mentioned before, just to add, it's better on the north side because everyone comes in that south side. And I believe it's going to be a lot more disruptive.
Prisoners coming in in light of what just happened in
No,
jail.
they come in on the north side, out from the east, they come in that drive-in.
The prisoners come in either from the north or from the east.
Yeah, they come in, there's that little parking pad there, they march.
Both sides.
From either side, depending on what's going on.
We also have judges that,
We have parking there on the east.
And there weren't crowds there last year, too, you'll recall. I mean, people there wasn't crowd, there was the display, and the 6 or 7 people out
Well,
there.
the 65 decibel issues basically solves in my opinion, solves the amplification issue. And then, to me, we're down to height and wear on the grounds.
Is that southwest? Is that?
That's
Yes,
right.
southwest.
I'm
Yeah.
dyslexic.
That's all right. I still think you have more area and more property there than you do on the north side. And I think that the traffic on Lincoln Way, it's unobstructed through there on Lincoln Way on that side as far as parking. That's why it's like that for a through street. And then we're creating a site thing for them that could be a safety factor, I believe. I still like the southwest corner, and I don't know what you want to do about the side of the display, but...
And if we're talking about the southwest corner, John, I'm looking at the computer screen. Are you talking about basically from where the
Crosswalk is.
from up here all the way down to here?
Crosswalk to crosswalk.
How about, yeah, right there, that's it. So, basically the whole corner, I'm just trying to be clear here. Right.
Yeah, visibility on actually two sides. You'd have Indiana and, what's the cross street?
Washington.
Washington, as opposed to only on Lincoln Way.
I'll give you my,
Or would you rather be all the way down Washington?
I'd like to be on the north side of the courthouse facing Lincoln Way. I think anywhere on the south is problematic because you have the exact problem you talked about earlier. People going into court for any number of reasons, walking past that display, I mean, you're kind of putting us in a position to have people that are not happy be even more unhappy. On the north side, we alleviate that whole problem. And I guess, I understand...
If you were choosing between the corner or all of Washington, which would you prefer?
Show me what Washington, I'm more over the streets.
This is Washington.
East side?
West side.
If it was either from here to here, or from here to here.
Right.
Which one would you rather do?
Well, I'd rather, of course, have that west, let me think about it. I'd rather have the west side so the display can lay out. And I'm gonna make you guys make a decision, because I'm just not gonna concede the north side of the courthouse.
That is the west side.
I understand,
That's
yeah.
the west side, yeah.
I want the north, the group wants the north.
South, west.
Yeah, the group wants the north side facing Lincoln Way. And unfortunately, I'm gonna make you make a decision on where you put it, and we'll debate that later. But if the group had a choice, without that concession, it would be the west side. Washington
I
facing.
say the entire Washington Street area from south sidewalk to north sidewalk. That's twice the space that you would have.
I don't think it's any, I think it's actually probably less, if you look at the map.
It's not less.
But it's at least the same, but I just want to be on the record that we're requesting the north side of the courthouse.
I think you've made your position clear.
We understand. I hope you understand ours.
I'm having some trouble, but your decision is your decision. I mean,
Okay.
I appreciate I appreciate your guys' help in working with this display that nobody really wants to see. I mean, I admit that.
Yeah, would you also provide us with your phone number, too?
Mine's actually on there. I listed myself as a contact on the, and I don't know whether I'll be at the display. I like to be around when these things get approved, because as things happen, it's nice to be on the ground. But I'll be
Well,
available.
it's one thing getting it approved, and it's another thing of being on site,
Oh, yeah.
taking responsibility.
I was there the second day last year for that
Second
exact
day.
reason.
So,
What about the
Well,
size of the display?
Well, before we get to that, I also, the depth, I just want to be clear on the depth of how, where,
I can tell you last year.
if we're putting it here, where's the line here?
Last year, I don't recall, I mean, it was a foot or so off the sidewalk.
Well, I want what we're approving clear so that you can tell your people and we know what to expect.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's close to the sidewalk as the structure allows, but it's not on the sidewalk. It was all contained within the lawn last year.
So if we said,
Within a foot?
or even if we just want to, the display itself is within, say, 3 feet of the sidewalk.
Yeah, my only concern is I don't recall how wide the base is and stuff. I don't want to get...
Well, okay.
The
How about
display...
if we said like 10 or 15 feet from the sidewalk is where this is going to be, whether it's a
10 or 15 feet back? Oh, yeah, that's plenty of
10 or
space.
15 feet back from the sidewalk.
That's plenty of space, because we'll be as close as we can to it, and there's really nothing else going on behind it except for the display in front. So 10 to 15 feet is more than enough room, the length of Washington.
And what about the size?
I can tell you the group has no intention to do anything other than double stack. I don't recall the exact height, but I
What's
don't
the
think it
length?
was more than, the length. I don't know the length, but,
96 feet it says here.
well, total
Square footage.
signage, yeah. So I can tell you, it went almost from corner to corner on the north side of the courthouse, in between those sidewalks and that lawn patch. That's the only way I can ballpark the display, but I don't know how wide that is. I mean, it's long.
I know the city of Valparaiso does have a sign ordinance, and I don't know if this would need to comply with that or not.
Well, I think what we would do is make our approval, and then if they need to deal with Valpo, they could deal with it.
Yeah, I don't believe it does. We've gone through, I don't think it applies. I know they have a sign ordinance, but I don't think it's applicable. You can make it.
Well, again, that's up to Valpo, it's not us, so.
Okay, so I think then, correct me if I'm wrong, the motion would be for approval, using the west side of the courthouse, the entire length of Washington Street, and the display would be 10 to 15 feet back from the sidewalk, and we're not going to make any imposition on the size of the or the height of the, or do we do?
I think we can try it here this year, and if it's, the height isn't a problem, it's not a problem. I think the biggest problem with the height on Lincoln Way is the fact that Lincoln Way has the traffic, and we have corners, and it's just big, and it's distracting, good and bad. Frankly, the content, I don't care. The issue is the size of it on Lincoln Way. So I think if it's over on Washington, then I think the height issue becomes just a lot less of an issue.
I can think a motion, or I think what you said in your motion too, that we need to be 10 to 15 feet back. I think it's no more than 15, I'm not even.
Okay. Well, and I mean, I guess if my suggestion for a motion would be that it's your presentation is approved, and that the signs themselves will be erected, and the presentation will occur within 15 feet of the sidewalk, running the length of Washington, and that the sidewalks that are present on the courthouse grounds will remain open, which I believe you guys did that last
Yeah.
year, but just to be
No,
clear.
we're not obstructing it.
And that you follow the city's of Valparaiso's requirements on the decibel of 65. I think that's part of our approval also. And then I kind of think that narrows it down.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion and a second to accept the proposal as resubmitted by the county attorney. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
time.
You bet.
I appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, request for additional appropriation, Highway Department Fund 1135, $75,000 to account 3950, Bridge contractual. This is additional for engineering invoice for Bridge 62 over the Kankakee River. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for additional appropriation, Highway, Fund 1176, $25,000 to account 2320, Garage and Motor Supplies, additional supplies through the end of the year.
And I did get the backup for that.
Okay.
Thank you, David. So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for additional appropriation, Highway, Fund 1176, $25,000 to account 3650, vehicle repair, additional for unexpected repairs now and through the end of the year.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
and a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Request for transfer of funds, Expo Center, Fund 4005, $8,000 from account 3510, Power, to account 2350, Building Maintenance. Need to increase the amount budgeted to cover everyday maintenance issues due to additional unforeseen issues.
I'll make the,
Go ahead, Laura.
So moved.
Motion is second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign, motion carries. We have a request from the Indiana Lincoln Highway Association to help with the 20 signs that will be brand-new signs going up to mark the historic Lincoln Highway Trail, and the cost would be $1,260.
I'll make the motion.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We did reports, we did correspondence, and we need to have Sharon back up. Sharon's here. We need to talk about your video tech quote first, and then if you have a ballpark for us. We should have done video tech when you were here before, but we didn't.
Okay.
This is my commission. So this is from video tech for the cameras.
These are some additional cameras here at the courthouse.
Okay.
I mean, here at the admin building.
Correct.
And the total amount of this bid is?
$23,078.26.
Oh, I got it. I got it.
Questions? We've been saying for a long time that we need to better equip this building with cameras to keep an eye on what's going on, and obviously, as we discussed this a little bit earlier, unfortunately, the things that happen in today's society need to be recorded so that they can be looked back on, so. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, how about,
Some of the commissioners are covering this in their budget somehow, that was the
No,
only thing.
that's- you can have your number now, that's
I don't
a
have a
different
budget, except yours.
Now you tell us. I think maybe
That's why I thought I'd throw it
CCD
out.
would be the correct place for this. Maintenance CCD, I think, would be the correct place.
Okay.
Okay, now how about your quotes? Can you give us a ballpark on?
Somewhat. I'll be brief. Technically, there's 3 quotes, but there's really only 2. The reason being is Right Stuff Software only quoted payroll. And in the quote, we said, if you're only going to quote one, you must partner with someone else so that you can provide a complete quote, which they did. They want to partner with Lau, which is odd because Lau has their own payroll. But there are some counties that have, I assume, Lao Financial and this Right Stuff payroll, and they do work together, and they already have existing relationships. So that's, Right Stuff basically came in and gave their payroll side if we chose Lau's financial side. Lau's quote was inclusive, their financial and payroll, and then RDS is a whole different quote because we already have them, so their quote doesn't include any licensing software because we already own it. So I can give you the pricing, but it's not comparable. It's like
Yeah,
comparing an orange and a
talking-
chainsaw. It's just
We're talking apples
nothing.
and oranges.
Oh, God.
Did the partnership from RDS, or no, the other one, one that wanted to partner with Lau, did it include Lau's price?
It did not.
It did not.
It just said that their preferred third-party partner would be Lau and Associates.
Well, then they didn't comply with the bid specs.
They did not, because they were supposed to submit a complete bid with two companies, which RDS did. They partnered with another company called Time Something, and they
They gave the
included two
price.
different quotes, one for their piece, one for their other partner's piece, into the one RFP. So if we looked at those two, the Lau and Associates price, and I'm going to give you a couple numbers, their base price was $230,972. Now, they also have a separate line item for data conversion, if we so choose to do that, and that was $19,400, which is not part of that number I gave you. And then that does not include any hardware if we chose to implement time clocks as part of the timekeeping software, which is an option. There is timekeeping software, and you can also integrate it with time clock hardware, which we did ask the vendors to provide, and they did, but because all the hardware is different as well, it's kind of hard to compare that too. So we
Right.
wanted them to give us numbers so we had options.
We would still have the option that somebody could punch their time clock from the computer on the
Correct,
desk.
and that's the figures I'm giving you would not have any physical time clocks. They would all be remote-type login or computer-type login.
Do we have any departments in the county that don't have the ability to have a computer in the, at least one computer in the department?
We got tons of
Yeah, I mean, you could have issues, say, with highway, if they come in to plow snow or, trees down in a storm, they're not gonna come into the office and go to a computer and sign. I mean, you have those types of issues, but, one of the things we asked for in the quote, which we'll determine as we get deep into them, is we asked for remote capability, like either from home on a website or a smartphone, different things like that, so we'll have to see if that proves out with the quotes we received. The Right Stuff software by itself for payroll was $43,000. Was no data conversion, no hardware. And the RDS quote, which included the timekeeping software but not hardware, was $112,945. And obviously, data conversion would not be a factor because it's already the system we have. Their system also does not comply with our request that it runs on a Windows server. So if you really look at it, just from the very, right, from the bird's eye view, we got one quote that was inclusive, and that was Lau and Associates. So I don't know if you want us to continue, you want to rebid before we get too far. I guess
Is there
I'd
anybody
ask
else,
for your
is there
opinion.
any other software out there that,
The only other vendor that I'm aware of that is used in the county is Harris Financials. I've heard good and I've heard bad. Because I did reach out to other IT directors in the state, and that was the predominant software, was either Lau or Harris.
Did Harris have the opportunity?
Again?
did we contact them?
No.
And offer?
No.
I say we go back to the drawing board. I mean, unfortunately, we've muddled through this long. I think we need to do a little bit more muddling to find out if we can't get a better deal and get something that everybody's going to be happy with, because
How's that going to affect your office?
One thing that the vendors did express was a deep concern on our expedited time frame and the ability to meet it as far as...
All vendors?
Yes, all vendors, even the existing vendor said, you're really pushing it to put all these new changes in. I mean, the current vendor would just be the way it is today, so there wouldn't be an issue there, but they even mentioned if we switched, the concern. So trying to get it done in that time frame, a lot of the vendors were kind of suggesting we looked at a March or April go-live date, even with our current schedule.
And Vicki, I know you have some constraints in regards to your responsibilities, how's this going to affect you if we decide to wait?
There's certain things that we can muddle through without a problem. My concern is at the start of the year with the W-2s, the 1099s, and the 1095Cs, 1094Cs. The need for upgrades is long past due, and that is a concern of mine. However, if all vendors did not want or did not feel that they could expedite the schedule, then we will just have to deal with it. We may have to contract out on a temporary basis for outside vendors, just as we did this year, because we can't even print our 1099s anymore in this county. That has to be fixed.
Time.
We may have to contract out to get the 1094s and 1095Cs to be compliant with federal law. We may have to do that.
And I don't know, but on your expedited schedule, was it all expedited or just payroll expedited?
It was all expedited. Because
Maybe the answer might be
because they go
different.
hand in hand.
Just payroll expedited might be a different answer.
I mean, the payroll and financial go hand in hand, because when you do payroll, you have to process FICA, and that has to go through the financial side as well. They kind of have to work together.
Well, I don't think I want to jump in and do this, and then find out it's not going to happen in time anyway, and then we still need to contract out to get this done. So I think it'd be wiser to go back out and look at what else is out there, and then come back with a realistic timeline and a realistic price. I mean, so, and if
So we would rewrite the spec, or
Yeah.
we would change the spec, because I think, in what John's saying, I think, has it been determined by the committee or the group that we really want to move towards Windows-based? I think
Yes.
that's,
Yes.
so I think what we need to do is write that into,
It was.
oh, and they still submitted it anyway?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I think,
Sorry.
I think if
No, it
there's
said
wrong route
specifically it
there.
must run on
Okay.
it must run on a Windows server.
if there's one other, if
Their
there's one
quote
other
says they
provider,
intend to go there in the future.
if there's one other provider that's state approved, I think we need to
They're-
contact them directly and ask them to participate. And
The state does not approve software, so there is no
Oh, they
state
don't?
approval.
No, they don't. They
Oh.
do property tax, but not financial.
Correct.
Oh.
So it's open to interpretation. I mean, we did state that they must follow State Board of Accounts guidelines, and they must be willing to follow any state mandates, things like that, but there is no certification or process through the state where they get approved.
is there also a qualification in the RFP for how long they must support their product?
We did note that we wanted to have extended maintenance as an option if we chose to keep it or not, but we didn't say how long they would have to maintain it. I mean, because if they close up or go bankrupt, then there's not a whole lot we can do.
And come
Or
back
or
next
get
week.
bought out by another company,
Yeah,
which
come
is,
back the next week as somebody else, yeah.
right.
We've played that game. Smaller.
Companies allow it, they allow it, the percentage, the higher percentage of Indiana
I
counties
don't have the,
overall.
I don't have the
Yeah,
stats
I
with
mean,
me on who has what.
I think Lao right now has 60, perhaps 60 some odd financials.
Yeah.
They support 60 various counties out of the 92. So I think that they are by far the bigger player. And it also might be proximity, they're just in South Bend or the north side of the state, whereas it'll be difficult for areas to support.
And their system is all-inclusive, there's no hanger-oners or
Well,
subs
Right.
or
Do they indicate that they can meet our time deadline?
No. They were ones that expressed concern about the expedited timeline as well. And they do have a complete system with the exception of the time clock keeping side as well. They have a timekeeping software, but if we wanted to go full-on time clock, biometric or badge or something like that, they don't get into that. They let specialized companies do that, and then that data flows into their software, and they work with a variety of vendors.
What's your pleasure?
Commissioners,
Go ahead.
Could I ask if there could be an opportunity for us to review these proposals in more depth? Maybe there is an opportunity to expedite a part of it versus all of it. For example, there was a concern about using the new software during the budget process. We're not going to do that. We'll do the same old budget process that we've done all these years. We'll do the annual report. I think we're the only county in Indiana that does our annual report this way, the old-fashioned way.
So this is our last year doing it this way, maybe?
Well, that's,
Do you, I mean, are you comfortable with Lao and the?
Given that I have not looked at the proposals, I would like to not answer that, but we do have LAO for our property tax system, and we are very pleased with them. Their technical support is outstanding.
I think it'd be premature for us to make a decision at this time, so if you're comfortable with reviewing what you have, I think that's the way we go. If you're more comfortable with getting Harris being the only other provider, were they offered the opportunity to bid?
I did not call them specifically.
We didn't call anyone. We took out the legal notice.
We did the legal notice, we put out, right, they had the same, like this, yeah.
So I don't feel right about going back and opening the process up again either, so I think that maybe you just take what you got. and-
Table it till the next meeting and go
Yeah,
from there?
Yeah, I would suggest you get with Scott, and let's look over the legal part of this and make sure that everything's apples to apples, and then, maybe come back before us in August.
But I don't think you can take any more bids. I don't think
No.
you- No.
We'd have to re-advertise RFP if we were gonna take
And
another.
just work through the bids that we have, and
Come back at the next meeting and give us your decision. Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Is that it? We finally made it? A marathon here, huh? Okay, we'll go right into, okay, what's the date? Yeah. Yeah, no, we're gonna do plan commission, but before we go to recess here, our next meeting in August, it would be typically the 2nd of August.
The 28th, right?
And the 16th.
You were saying the, yeah, I'm out of town those days in business.
And we have conflicts.
Was it the 28th, Laura?
20th is Sunday.
On in July. Wrong one. Sorry, God dang. Yeah, 'cause the 19th, I'm bad.
What about the 23rd?
We were the 28th of...
23rd's a Tuesday, that's okay by me. I don't know, Sharon's got my phone.
25th.
25th's a Thursday?
Yeah, that was the one, Laura, that we were talking about, was the
I
20th.
think the 18th, it doesn't work either.
Okay.
The 23rd, I think, works for me, is that work for you guys?
Fine for me.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. The next meeting, we'll have one meeting in August, and it will occur on the 23rd of August at our normal time, 1 o'clock, till the cows come home. Okay, so we stand in recess as the Board of Commissioners. We now open as the Plan Commission. Good afternoon, Robert. Hope we didn't keep you waiting too long. We have a rezoned rural residential